This is the man chosen by God, going to work, but having a traffic jam. He used his hand to handle all the cars stored on the sides of the road. Which clothes he likes, then he just focuses his thoughts on it, and those clothes will be immediately worn on his body. He waved his hand, that could burn the tag. One day before he was just an ordinary person. He always radiates negative energy. In the morning he was beaten by a mob. Coming to the company, he was fired. Bruce collapsed completely. Maybe he was unlucky like that. The truth is so. Bruce angrily screams out why he's always unlucky. The next day, Bruce received a phone call. The people said he would recommend him a job. Unexpectedly, when Bruce got there, he only saw an old man. The man says he is a god. Bruce never believed his words. When he was about to turn his head to leave, God told him to stay. Then he took Bruce to see a cabinet. God says the things Bruce has said and done in this life is in this cabinet. Bruce doesn't believe such a thing. When he was about to open the cabinet, God cautiously backed away. Then the cabinet kept opening, as if there was no end. Finally it stopped. But God pulled it back. The cabinet was returned to the original place. Bruce is extremely angry. He felt as if God was trying to prank him. He must also prank on God too. Then Bruce put his hands behind his back. He told God to guess he was pointing his fingers. God said 7 fingers. Bruce immediately retracted 2 of his fingers. He laughed at God's wrong guess. But when Bruce saw carefully, one of his hands turned into 7 fingers. He is extremely scared. Then God spoke to Bruce. Now he will give him a chance. As long as Bruce walks out of this building, he will have superpowers. Bruce frantically ran away. He thinks the old man has a problem. His car started automatically after he shouted. He thinks it's just luck. When Bruce arrived at a restaurant, he ordered a coffee. When he asked the waiter to give him a spoon, the spoon popped out of his mouth. The server was extremely panicked. So did Bruce. He decided to try it again. He held out his hand and concentrated his thoughts. A great wind appeared. His coffee cup suddenly changed. Finally, Bruce believes he has superpowers. He is extremely happy. He decided to celebrate this. He went to his girlfriend's house. He turned a bouquet of flowers and gave this to his girlfriend. Then he pulled the moon closer and drew a few more stars to make the scene very romantic. That made his girlfriend extremely happy. Then Bruce decided to get his job back. He turned his old car into a good one. The road is jammed and he just needs to shake his hand to deal with it. At that time, a colleague saw Bruce and made fun of him for being fired. But Bruce never cared for his teasing, as if Bruce was waiting for something. Right after that, the sniffing dog suddenly discovered a body under the ground. The colleague was about to take the camera to record the news, but unexpectedly, the car door was locked. After that, Bruce very calmly recorded the unique news. Following that, he continuously used his superpowers to create bizarre things. He causes a meteorite to fall from the sky. Bruce was also on the scene at the time. Bruce became a very famous person. He was praised by everyone in the company. Because of overusing superpowers, Bruce makes the world in chaos. His girlfriend broke up with him. Bruce stood in the rain screaming that he didn't want to be a god anymore. Let God decide his life. At that moment, a white light shone right down where he was standing. He thought God was miraculous, but it was actually a car coming towards him. When Bruce opened his eyes, he is in heaven. He met God again. God gave him a bracelet. He said that Bruce should learn to pray from now on. Bruce takes the bracelet, but doesn't pray for himself. He hoped that his girlfriend would find someone who loves her sincerely. God laughed and said he would definitely help Bruce fulfill his wish. He pointed with 2 fingers in Bruce's body. So Bruce suddenly came back to life. Bruce woke up again in the hospital, his girlfriend by his side. She forgave him. 2 people hugged and made up. Bruce finally understood where the miracle came from. Everything that happens in life is actually decided by yourself. The movie here is the end.